Welcome into Celtics Late Night. The Celtics win themselves both games of a back-to-back, most recently at 129 to 124. Never in doubt, Jake, victory over the Pacers of Indiana. Jake Eisenberg is here. How's it going, Jake? Welcome. Welcome back to Celtics Late Night.
We're back. I feel like it's been too long. Here we are.
It's been a while.
2 wins in a row. Celtics 37-11. Chat's going off. We got Blow Up. We got Cool Genuine. We got the regulars. We got Aussie Feel. We got Pete. We got Mr. Ramos, the legend in the chat here. Look.
The whole gang.
This is good. This is good. I really wanted this win because you finish this and all of a sudden January has finally concluded. Like this just hellacious schedule. And like... Not just a hellacious schedule, but hellacious schedule in January when it's like a classic time to take your foot off the pedal. You know, you've made it through the first couple months, post-Christmas, New Year's. It's like all-star breaks coming up. This is the time where you start to relax a little bit. Mm-hmm. And damn, they grounded out. Is that grinded?
Ground, I think ground is right. Like grounded to a pulp.
Sure.
We ground peas.
We grounded that schedule to a little pulp. That schedule is now our bitch. We went 11-5 in this month.
11-4.
Well, according to Cameron Tabatabai. There we go. Thank you.
Sorry, I keep correcting you.
No, please. Someone has to. According to him, 11-5 in the month of January. In that month, we played 3 teams below 500, and and Houston was above 500 when we originally played them. So, like, if you take them out, we played 1 team, the Spurs, below 500. Like, it's a ridiculous stretch. So to come out of that thing 11-5, with a couple of injuries here and there, man, feels good.
Yeah, we've got slightly different data. First of all, like, that's amazing. That is an incredible stretch. I don't care how good your team is. I don't care how many prospective all-stars you have. If you go through a stretch like that to that level of success, then you are amazing. I've got something from Jay King here, who is coming on the show tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time there in the States, which is roughly 9 a.m. here on the East Coast of Australia. Jay King had the Celtics just completed a stretch of 15 games in 26 nights, which is just an insane compression of games, a condensed period of games in such a small period of time. 26 nights, dude. 15 games. They finished it 11-4 with a net rating of nearly 9. And then he goes on to say from here the schedule opens up a bit. And we'll get to the upcoming schedule, I think, to end the show, Jay, because we'll talk about the Lakers coming up and the Marcus Smart coming back to Boston. I've bulk ordered wholesale amounts of tissues to my house. No, not for that reason, because I'll be crying a lot as Marcus Smart returns to the Garden.
Well, question there, just on Jay King here, and Tony Lewis in the chat here. We could get Bobby too. People want the rematch. I don't think we'll be able to get Bobby on the show tomorrow, but I think I was gonna ask you, and then I'll be asking Jay King in the pre-show if we're allowed to ask him about the Bobby Manning Jay King 1v1 game that's been making the rounds lately, and then entrapping him into committing to the Celtics media pickup game that's going to happen in Las Vegas in July. So
the game I'll be refereeing.
Exactly. Yeah, you'll be splashing threes from above the break, knocking them down. Yeah, please don't tear your ACL when we go to Vegas.
I can't wait for that. Yeah. We love Bobby Manning here on the show. So maybe we should get him back on. We haven't had him on since the off season. And so I'm glad you reminded me. We've got to ask Jay King about that. We've got to surely open with that. That's probably the most pressing thing to talk to about with Jay King. So get into this game a little bit. Actually, before we do that, let's do the whole spiel here, folks. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're so close.
Get in there.
So close to 3,000 subscribers, Jake. I don't know. You want to tell the people what they can expect if they subscribe to this channel?
Just lots of good stuff. Just friendship, love, to quote our good friend Joe Mazzulla, we're going to bring the right mentality every single night. We're removing the word perfection from our vocabulary. That's been something that I've been, taking from Joe. Nothing's going to be perfect. Not going to be a perfect show, but we're going to bring it. We're going to, expect some trolls, expect some L's here and there, but can we weather the storm and continue to bring at least mediocre content to the people for the remainder of the season? But yeah, hit the like button. We're slowly winning the battle against the algorithmic overlords one day at a time. Even Doc Rivens is doing his part. He's updating his own content. And originally Doc Rivens, just a massive step up.
Love it.
Huge. Here's what you want to see. You want to see growth, not just from the Celtics, but from us and from you guys, the listeners. Let's keep it going.
Growth mindset. Love to see it. Yeah, we've got this QR code here now, so you can scan that on your device and you'll get to our link tree, which has got links to everything, the audio podcast, which you should definitely subscribe to, obviously the YouTube channel, and obviously you're here watching now, so hit like, hit subscribe if you haven't already. And it'll also link you to our socials and, more recently relevant, our Discord server, which we set up a few days ago. We sort of soft promoted it on the last show and on a YouTube community post, and I think close to 50 people now have piled in, and it's become this, I'll say, Jake, a hotbed of Celtics conversational activity. It's a lot of fun, and you've got the opportunity, if you join that Discord server, to contribute to our podcast run sheet. There's all kinds of behind the scenes stuff going on as far as the planning around the framework of the podcast and stuff like that. So scan the QR code. Having a lot of fun there in the Discord. I suppose we should get to the game. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah. I mean, the shout out everybody in the Discord. That's been super fun. I just want to set expectations. We're often I'm in particular streaming the games on playback, so I'm not as active during games, and then sometimes I'm in media freeze outs because I like to avoid scores. But don't you worry, I'll be in there a lot. And man, do you have the meme uploaded?
I'll get it while we're chatting about the game. I'll get it and upload it because it's so good. Shout out to Heisenberg.
I was going to say, I know Aussie Phil in the chat, he was like, it won't be perfect, but it will be Derrick. That is our new word for perfect, is Derrick, because he's as close to perfect as we can be. And look, speaking about this basketball game that I guess happened today, but I'm not going to put this one into the bucket of great wins or awesome wins or whatever, but it's a win nonetheless that takes us to 37-11. That's so Derrick, dude. And that's all that really matters. And this was the definition of beware the early lead. Every shot is going in. We're 60+% from 3, and we're up 20 with 60 seconds to go in the first half. And I'm like, if we could just not shit ourselves in this next 60 seconds, this game's over. What do? We shat ourselves in that next 60 seconds. The Pacers, it was a 7-2 run. It felt much worse than that. Haliburton hits a half-court bank. What is the deal with this guy? I know he's incredible and he's having an awesome year, but can he just kindly fuck off? It's just ridiculous.
Him and Aaron Neesmith, for God's sake.
Oh my God.
Why do they hate us so much? Aaron Neesmith, we gave you a chance. We drafted you 14th, technically a lottery pick. We gave you plenty of minutes in the NBA. You had your Paul Pierce checkered parquet-looking suit on. It was all set in stone. All the stars were aligned. It didn't work out, and we traded you to a good team, gave you a better opportunity as a result, and you just hate on us. Him and Tyrese Haliburton getting back to that half-court shot.
He literally, I mean, you're on it. I mean, Neesmith literally had the best game of his career. 26 points on 7 of 11 shooting. His season high, I'm actually not sure what his career high is. His season high coming in tonight was 26 points. But it was 26 points with 9 rebounds and 0 assists. Mm-hmm. He has 26 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists, a block, 0 turnovers. He was incredible in the first half.
Not defensively.
Not defensively. It's almost like we've played a mini playoff series with these guys. This was our 5th matchup with these guys this season, and Jaylen and Jason in particular look like they've become very comfortable we're dealing with Neesmith, Haliburton, Nembhard, Buddy Hield. I really would love this matchup. First round seems like a lot for a team as good as the Pacers, but I would love this matchup in the second round, or any round, because it's like they're too squishy. As fun as they can be, I trust the Celtics to kind of lock in more consistently once the playoffs roll around. And like, if you can't get stops on the Celtics, it's tough. And that's kind of what we saw down the stretch.
Well, yeah, this matchup compared to like the Knicks, for example, which are the opposite of squishy. They're hard with hard edges. That would be a very difficult, spicy matchup to go against. We may inevitably see them. Obtuse, thank you. Yeah, give me the Pacers any day. As stressful as this game was, and we're going to start to run through it now, it wasn't all perfect. And definitely, like you alluded to, Jake, a tale of two halves where we came out, ball was zipping around, no signs of the fatigue from it being a second night of a back-to-back. Excellent ball movement. Derrick White fully engorged in this game, Jake, fully back. Derrick White, the mistress, who I believe we have... something here. There we go. There's Jake with his mistress. Shout out to Heisenberg in the Discord, by the way.
Yeah.
Just a little sneak peek of some of the awesome content that's cooking up in that Discord server. How does this make you feel, Jake, just while we're on it?
I was just sitting on the couch next to my wife on the Discord, and this thing comes through, and I just start dying laughing, and I'm like, do I show this to my wife? I'm not 100% sure. I feel like I'm keeping something from her if I don't show her this. So, so I showed this, and her response is, "What have you done?" Oh no!
This is the world giving back.
This is it. This is our quirky little incredible corner of the internet that we've created. And
Nightmare Fuel, says Tony.
I absolutely love it. I'm glad that we didn't have that before Richard White came on the podcast.
Oh my God.
I would have been too tempted, and I would have done it. Maybe for the trilogy of the Richard White podcast when he comes back on, we'll send him some Starlink internet next time. So so he's not buffering quite as much. Maybe we'll show him the mistress meme. But yeah, look, he's outrageous between the fourth quarter and the first quarter of the Pelicans game, fourth quarter, where back to his just heroic play in the fourth quarter. Man, this guy has come so far from the dude that we traded for, just purely from a confidence perspective. And like fourth quarter, he's been one of the most clutch players on the Celtics and one of the most clutch players in the NBA this season. And it's not close, like above 50% from three in clutch situations all year long. And then you carry that over to today in the first quarter. And it was all game, but specifically in the first quarter, he has 15 points, and it's just from the 3-point line, getting downhill, like assists, 15, 1 rebound, 3 assists, 0 turnovers in the first quarter. Like, just an absurd for first quarter from D. White.
Yeah, and you alluded to his late game heroics as well. We've got Joe Mazzulla talking about just that in his post-game presser.
Derrick White, right at the end there, using the foul to give to stop a transition opportunity, let you guys set your defense, and then you guys get a 24-second violation out of that. I mean, it seems like a pretty smart play.
He's a genius player. He's a genius player. We've missed our foul to give call on like the last 3 times we tried to use it, and credit to him for recognizing that and taking advantage of it. It's a genius play.
Dude, genius. Credit to Corrales as well for just like calling out the smarts from Derrick White's perspective. But Derrick White, incredible. And you mentioned he had that block on Aaron Neesmith in the corner to end the game, to basically seal the game or to prevent the Pacers from tying the game. And then Tatum, I think as an extension of that possession as well, him and KP with like the dual block on Miles Turner as well. So we're going to get into the nitty gritty of the game, but I guess like the main takeaway is that the Celtics closed a game well again, which has kind of happened the majority of times throughout this season. And it's I guess you can add it to the pile of like games that we probably would have lost this time last year as well. Jake, is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Like when the Pacers start going on that run in the third quarter, that turns into a 12-point lead for the Pacers that the Celtics then have to come back from. And it's like they're scratching and clawing. They can't clean up any of the issues. and they kind of do the inverse of what the Pacers do, where like they get a little bit lucky towards the end and they make it a close game when it kind of like they had let go of the rope and they were never able to get it back. I'm pulling up the clutch numbers here, and so that is our 23rd clutch game this season, I think, according to NBA.com, which has us 11th in the NBA, 15-8, which has us at 6th in the NBA at 15-8. Very impressive. The best in the league is the Mavericks at 16-6 winning percentage. So like we're talking, 1 or 2 games here and there as far as winning percentage goes for these numbers. But like the Galaxy brain take for you. 20-point lead, blow the Pacers out. Who cares? Are we learning anything from that? To quote the great Joe Mazzulla, I'm hoping we get the shit kicked out of us 10 to 12 more times. I'm hoping we blow more leads. Well, was this a strategic move? Was playing Neemias Queta that many minutes a strategic macro decision in order to let the Pacers back into the game so that we could have a clutch game and prove ourselves, get some reps in a clutch situation? And I know we're going to get to Queta. It's kind of a joke. It's definitely a joke.
Well, yeah, it is a joke, but it is funny, as most good jokes should be. Footnotes, I'd rather win by 30. I think, would we learn anything from winning by 20, winning by 30? I think at this point, once enough doubt is put out there into the world, even if it is by essentially Celtics internet trolls, it does start to get under your skin a little bit. So a nice 20, 30-point win, and because it was a bit of a wavering game against the Pels yesterday as well. So just a nice decisive win. The learning is like, oh no, okay, we still are who we thought we were, or who we think we are, as far as like the dominant team in the league. And so a nice 20, 30-point win would have just hammered that home in a timely manner, I think, at a time where maybe some of the more insecure fans, myself, needed to hear that. But look, a win's a win, and one of the reasons why we opened the show with just the insane stretch, the 15 games in 26 days or whatever it was, 11 games in 26 days. No, it was 15. Like it has to be the underlying sentiment, the context setter for all of this is like, this is how ugly some of these games are going to be and how they're going to be won because of those circumstances. So given those circumstances, I'll take the win any way we can get it.
Absolutely. And to do it on a back-to-back, again, like the Celtics have been really good in back-to-backs this season and going back to last season. You mean pick the situation, the Celtics have been really good, especially in the regular season, and the playoffs for the most part. That's just the reality of how good this team has been. But back-to-back in a game where against the Pelicans, you have to come back from 17 points down in the second quarter, fight all the way, another clutch game all the way through. You get to stay at home, thankfully, and not travel on this one. But you get the win against a team against like the Pacers, who like to run and gun. I mean, when you think about it, it kind of makes sense that they lagged a little bit in the third quarter. Granted, that has been a bit of a recurring issue this season, but it kind of makes sense that it pops
against
up.
the Pels, they were smashing it in the third quarter.
Yeah,
so,
great third quarter.
Yeah, it depends on the rhythm of the game, I think. And if they come out after a fairly dominant first half, despite how that final 60 seconds went, they obviously come out relaxed. Not deservedly so, but human nature dictates the tempo at which they come out in the second half because of that. That wasn't what was needed of them in the second half against the Pels. So obviously they come out and they have a fantastic third quarter. So the context does sort of set that pace in the second half.
It's like you want the Celtics, you want any team that you root for to be like, no, just pretend like the score is 0-0.
Yes.
But like, it's just not how it works. It's exactly like the playoffs. When your team is up 2-0 or like the Celtics being down 3-0, there's just no way to fabricate the desperation. There's just no way to do it. It's like any real life situation. Like when you're desperate, you're desperate. There's no way to truly fabricate that. And like, I would obviously like them to be a little more focused in some of these third quarters. I had a look at the third quarter numbers. They're still like 11th in the league in third quarter net rating, which relative to all of their stats that's bad. Yeah. Because most of their stats, they're like top 3, top 5 and pretty much everything.
Sure.
It's we're looking for things to grab to, which is why Nick Queta is a polarizing topic, and why the third quarters are something that comes up. It's because
we're so lucky.
We're clutching at straws to find, and we want to be as close to Derrick White perfect as we possibly can. So we should want to work on these things. I'm sure the Celtics are talking about these third quarter as well. Jesse, were you at the game today, big dog? Good to see you. I know you were at the Green Runs Deep catch up at the Clippers of the Pelicans game, but yeah, man.
I want to go to one of those.
I know, it looks so much fun.
Yeah, dude. I hope you mentioned you can't really manufacture that urgency. I hope that when we get into the playoffs this year, obviously we're jumping around here a bit, Jake, but this is what late night's all about. The urgency manufacturing comes from man, have we shat the bed so many times at some juncture through the playoffs for the last 6 years or whatever it is. Can that be the urgency manufacturing? We cannot do this again. We have to win.
It is different in the playoffs. Absolutely. There's a different level of focus, but it's almost like the levels just keep going up. Like the level of desperation you're able to reach as someone that's down 2-0 in the playoffs in the second round is different to someone in a team in the regular season that's down 16 in the third quarter. And so, we're dealing with humans, Ben. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I wish we could just, send our screenshot of the Celtics with the best net rating and the best point differential and the best you name it stat, submit that to the basketball gods, and they'd be like, yep, they're going to win a championship. And that's how it goes. But unfortunately, we have to
slip in a photo of Jordan Walsh, maybe showing a little bit of skin.
Hey, exactly.
That's racy Jordan Walsh photo.
Yeah. Well, maybe we send him a signed picture of this. Send the gods a picture of that. I mean, we're doing our best out here.
We got to get that on a t-shirt, man. That's so good.
That's not going to be allowed to be worn in most public places.
I'll wear that to a Summer League game in Vegas this year.
Well, as long as kids aren't allowed, I'm in these areas, and it's probably allowed.
All right. Sounds good. Jason Tatum, who was 12 for 19 in this game, 4 of 9 from 3, good for 44% from beyond the arc, 30 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks, just 2 turnovers despite having a huge amount of usage in terms of handling the ball. Fantastic Tatum game. He was great against the Pelicans as well. We're in the midst of a pretty great Tatum stretch, I think it's fair to say. He looks like the adult in the room out there a lot of the time.
Yeah, beautiful stretch from Tatum over the last few games here. I'm trying to pull up his last 3 games, or maybe 4 games, I think, going back to
Don't look back too far. That's my hint to you. But in very recent days, it's been very good.
Yeah, I was going to say, going back to the Mavericks game, 26 points a game, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and a block. That's really good. I mean, the problem is his stats just look pretty excellent for the most part. Are kind of across the board here, but the Clippers game is skewing those results. But Mavericks game, Pelicans game tonight, he's been really dominant in the way that we really like to see. And I know that his numbers have been kind of his overall raw numbers have kind of been down just because he's not taking as many shots. But he goes 10 for 12 in the first half, and he's kind of getting, you name it, and a lot of it's coming from downhill. He had one play where he was dancing on the perimeter, and we're all watching, and we're just, this is going to be a pull-up 3. And I've come to a point in my life where I'm here for the pull-up 3s, because it's just part of our life. And when they go in...
Did you come to this point 2 weeks ago, like I did? 2 or 3 weeks ago is when we sort of were invited back into that part of our brains?
Well, they have started going in more, which is nice.
Yes, exactly.
So that's definitely part of it. But yeah, the analysis of the analytics, the deep dive of when Tatum hits the pull-up 3s, the Celtics basically become the 17 Warriors. And when he doesn't, then they're still really fucking good. That's worth him taking several per game. Mm-hmm. But what he's really been doing lately, and he's just been attacking, getting downhill. And the drives today, taking Jalen Smith, Miles Turner, so many guys off the dribble. Even the Clippers game, it's such a bummer that no one was able to hit any shots in that game early, because he was doing, similar to the Pelicans game, really. Tatum was doing just enough to keep the Celtics attached in that Pelicans game. So when
Yeah.
the rest of the team woke up, they were able to come back. Whereas in the Clippers game, Tatum was doing enough. It should have been enough for the rest of the Celtics to wake up and make it a game, but they weren't because he's just been like he had some takes on Paul George. He was kind of going at everybody. Like the Clippers defense was really good, but Tatum, 8 was still excellent in that game, and it feels like he's kind of in a little bit of a groove right now.
Yeah, and in this one, at that period, particularly the first half and late in the game as well, when the Celtics were getting anything they wanted offensively, high pick and roll, either Derrick White ball handling or Jason Tatum ball handling, often Porzingis setting the screen, and just the threat of Porzingis popping, opening up some space there for our ball handlers, and then JT, for the most part, just getting downhill. And like you mentioned there, Jake, like the threat of his step back three or his pull up three is enough that he can drop that shoulder and get to the paint. But like now, and this is a difference from a year or two ago, is like once he gets into the crowded paint, he's really like weavy with his shoulders and getting by like 2 or 3 defenders and getting himself an uncontested layup attempt, essentially. Like he's expert level getting himself clean looks at the rim despite that defense collapsing around him. So awesome from Tatum, awesome from Derrick White as well, just taking advantage of the fairly terrible, or like notably and markedly and documentedly terrible Indiana Pacers defense.
I will say though, like the Pacers defense lately, especially post Siakam trade, has been a lot better. I'm just going to try and pull it up here, and it's going to maybe don't look at the last 10 games because they're 26th. Yeah. In the last 10 games, I feel like I've been hearing about their defense being better. No,
it was good in stretches of this game, but then our defense was terrible for the second half and the end of the second quarter as well. Absolutely fucking atrociously terrible, allowing the Pacers to get back into this one. And then there's the whole thing of the defense, the lack of defense on our part dictating our offense and it pulling our offense down to its shitty level. And that kind of was the story of the second half. Unfortunately, we've already celebrated like the guys closing games well, and they're able to wake themselves up and do just enough to close this one out despite bed shitting their way through the third and most of the fourth quarter.
Well, this game ends up feeling a lot closer than it kind of needed to be. Like obviously the Pacers got the lead back in the third or the fourth quarter. I think they went up 1 at one point, but they're up, and we're jumping around. They go up by 7-ish or something, or 8 late, and then where is it? I'm gonna find it. Drew Holiday, man. Drew Holiday has the 8-second violation. So Celtics go up 9 with 2 minutes and 44 seconds to go. And I saw someone's comment in the chat earlier about still want more fourth quarter Porzingis post ups. Firstly, agreed, and I promise you, in the playoffs, it's going to be like an absolute staple of the fourth quarter offense and crunch time offense. But again, it is matchups. Like tonight, they're able to get Porzingis on Neesmith late, which is when we scored in this game here with 2:44 to go. Porzingis had that little jump shot over Neesmith in the post, and then we get a stop on Siakam. Tatum rebounds, Tatum misses, offensive rebound, Tatum misses. But then down the other end, Hield scores, but we're down to a minute 49. So a 7-point game, Celtics ball. So it's like, even if we miss, the Pacers are going to get the ball back down 7 with a minute 30 to go. But what happens? Drew Holiday, 8-second violation. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, and he had another possession earlier in the game where he got stripped from behind. Where I felt like everyone in the building was like, "Bro, he's right behind you." So frustrating, and it's so embarrassing. There's probably a better word for it. Humiliating. When it's like, not only do they turn the ball over or commit some sort of egregious mistake, but it's like they fall to the ground. They're spread out, palms to the ground, feet sprawled out everywhere. It's just like a messy, embarrassing fail at the most professional, at the highest level. It's disgusting. And for Drew to commit that at that part of the game, like it's in the playback stream. I think we've got a clip from playback. I don't know if you want to share it now or later, but buttholes were tight in playback for a little while there.
It just didn't need to be. It didn't need to be. Like, obviously it got tight once the Pacers took the lead, but credit the Celtics, they built a 9-point lead with 2 minutes and 44 seconds to go, which in 99% of games, that's it. That's a death note. There's nothing you can do about that. And that like we hit the magic number. We were safe. We were good to go. The only thing that beats the magic number is like disastrously bad decision making, specifically bad turnovers, early shot clock that lead to points. That's like the one thing when you have a lead in the last 5 minutes that you cannot do is turn the ball over early in the shot clock in particular. That leads to quick points. And Drew, man, I asked this question in the Discord, like, as far as trust goes, and partly, I haven't had Drew in my life longer than this first half of the season or whatever, but he is easily 6th on this team as far as trust goes. Like, Horford is so easily in the tier 1 of trust, and Drew is not there at all for me.
You don't trust Pritchard or Hauser even more than Drew? That's kind of an inflammatory question.
I thought it when I was saying it. I was like, dude, I think I literally might trust Pritchard more to do what he is capable of more so than Drew, if that makes sense. But like Drew's just capable of so much more that like it's kind of irrelevant. So it doesn't matter.
All-star NBA champ. Like it's once you start really breaking it down, it's difficult to make that declaration, I think. But the fact that the thought crosses your mind says something.
Yeah, absolutely. And like these are fair comments too. Like people have him higher on their trust list than JB. I've just experienced more JB wins in the playoffs than Drew. And the way that Jaylen's played this year as far as decision making goes, like gives me confidence going to the playoffs. I just have this thing about Drew. They're different trusts. Like there are different reasons why I don't trust either of these guys in certain spots. But like Drew, first play of the Heat game, backcourt violation. He just passes it in the backcourt. Like similar to the 8 seconds violation. It's just like we don't need to do any of that, dude. Just avoid the risk of any of these things. And there's just a little bit of that of him. Whereas Jaylen, like, he doesn't make those types of decisions. It's more just like he's trying to force it and not in a malicious way, but or in a selfish way, but in like this is the best way to help the team in my opinion way. And Drew just, I don't know, to quote the great Kendrick Perkins, there are moments throughout the game where if you put a bird in there, it might fly the other direction. No, I'm just kidding. But,
that's a good one for the J King pod tomorrow to
I
throw
will
at
ask
him.
him.
Like, do
Absolutely.
we have the personnel to protect Drew from himself and from impacting us during the playoffs? That's an interesting one. Who else? I suppose we should talk about Kristaps Porzingis. Actually, before we get to Porzingis, Joe Mazzulla had a couple of great quotes in his post-game presser. Did you notice that there was some trash talking going on between the coaching staff and Buddy Hield?
I've completely missed it.
Yeah, same. But check this out.
And he was talking to the bench and your coaching staff. What's the etiquette on
Etiquette?
Or is there some kind of
Is there a
rules?
country club?
No, I'm just saying. But he's shooting baskets after timeouts.
The rule is we're supposed to go block it. That's the rule. That's
so
the
it's
etiquette.
your guy's fault.
Yes. We're supposed to
Okay.
block shots when the other team shoots at our basket. That's the rule.
Okay, so you got to talk to your guys about that.
Yes.
Okay.
He was form shooting in front of our bench, so I was waiting for him to go take a shot, and I would have blocked it myself, but he didn't shoot it. He was form shooting. So was he shooting at the basket or was he form shooting?
No, he was shooting the basket.
And then we're supposed to block those.
What was going on with him and your coaching staff? Because it seemed like there was some Sam ran out there.
Yeah, it's the rule.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, like that was what Sam was supposed to do.
Yes.
Okay. And then there was talk between, was it good-natured or
Yeah, it was great-natured. Buddy Hield's a great guy. He's a great-natured guy. Remember, he's the same guy that admitted to his fault at the end of the other game. Remember that? So he's a really good guy.
And he took the 3 at the end of the
Also,
season tournament game.
great guy within the rules. I love that he did that.
You do.
Yes, it's part of the rules. I mean, it's part of the game.
So the Joe Mazzulla, Gary Washburn saga continues. This is a beautiful chapter in that saga. Joe, I thought you were frozen there, man.
Sorry, no, I've got the Sixers game on my TV, and Embiid just dived on the floor to get a loose ball when he shouldn't be playing to begin with, and then Draymond Green, shock, dove on top of Embiid's knee, and he's just writhing on the ground in pain.
Oh, man.
Yeah, which is like Like, we obviously hate the Sixers, but like that's
Not that much.
not something we're ever going to celebrate. He shouldn't be playing, so that's why I was distracted there. No,
Yeah,
I also
fair
feel.
enough.
I mean, he kept playing this game, but I just watched him get hip checked in the knee by Draymond Green on the ground. But anyway, we might cover that towards the end. But
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that.
I love it from
yeah.
Mazzulla, man. I love it from Mazzulla. I'm in the Garden Report, chat earlier, and like, man, so many people hate Joe for some reason, and it's just like it's become the thing to do for whatever reason. And it goes back to what I was saying about people are just like searching for whatever it is that they can complain about or whatever. And Joe Mazzulla is one of those things. If you just like switched Mazzulla and Ime with, or was it Kuminga? My bad on that one. I'm half watching it. But if you just switched Mazzulla and Ime today, and Ime was the person saying what Joe Mazzulla said today, everybody would be eating out of the fucking palm of his hands. They'd be like, "Oh, look at this tough dude, doesn't take shit from anybody." Da da da. Like, what I took from Mazzulla was, is that like a team policy that like, when teams shoot on our basket, we block their shots? That's in the game, obviously. That's in between possessions when there's like a foul call or an out of bounds play and someone gets, or a timeout, like what happened here. And it's just like a mentality thing. And I love that this is what kind of guy Joe is. And Kristaps talked about it in his presser as well, was that Joe is huge on mentality. And that is like such an important aspect to coaching. And any team that wants to win a title is how mentally tough can you be. And these little things, like, we have a team policy. If anyone's shooting shots in our basket, we're trying to block it. Doesn't matter. Timeout. Or if we're playing, we're going to go block these shots. I love it from Joe. I can really tell how much of a competitive dickhead he is. And if it wasn't Joe, people would fucking love it. But because it's Joe, some people like to hate on it. But I love it.
Yeah, the way that he stares back at
Yeah, it's
Washburn,
sick.
at old Gaza there, is just crazy. Like this insane, like staring into his soul as he like delivers the sentiment and the truth and the facts. What was interesting though, with part of what they were talking about there, they talked about how Buddy Hield admitted to his mistakes in the last game. That last play where Neesmith was driving to the rack and Tatum blocked him and it was called a foul and then it was reviewed. And we got the
Overturned.
inverse of the last Pacers
Yes.
game where he got ball before dragging down onto his arm, which is, I guess, legal defensive maneuvering. And the call was overturned and we get the ball back. Or it was a jump ball or whatever, which we then went on
Which we
to
won.
lose. But then
No,
the
we
Pacers
lost. No,
didn't
we lost.
score.
Yeah.
So it was all good. But just amazing, full circle. That controversy, obviously not as controversial in terms of the juncture of the game and how much we could have gone on to win that previous Pacers game. But still interesting relations between the two scenarios.
Absolutely. And dude, Joe's been cooking with challenges. Had an awesome ATO last night. Like, he's been great on points per possession with ATOs. No, I absolutely love what we're seeing from Joe here. But yeah, so one thing we haven't talked about, our good friend Neemias Queta, big game for him today. Not saying that's good or bad, but it was a big game, large game, sizable game from Queta. We got 14 minutes from Queta, which is a lot of Queta. Your thoughts, Ben, on Neemi?
He did the splits in this game, which was an amazing physical feat. He also won a jump ball, tipped it to himself, and then therefore lost the jump ball or committed a turnover. He then won the next jump ball sort of to himself again, but it bounced off him, ricocheted off Jaylen Brown, came back to Queta, and he converted the bucket with a pretty sexy dunk there.
Hey.
Can't say it was a very purposeful move, but look, he gets it done in weird and surprising ways. So, look, it's never going to be great when you're leaning that heavily on your any two-way player, right? Any player of sort of two-way quality, maybe
Fourth
too good for the
string
G
center.
League. Yeah, there's that pocket of talent that we are all too familiar with guys like J.D. Davison. You're too good for the G League. You're just not good enough for the NBA. And that's kind of where Queta is sort of hovering. If anything, he's leaning towards more of being an NBA caliber player than being too good for the G League simply. So, in a game like this, you're lucky to have him because Al's out. Cornette's out, and you do need a backup big. And I think he did just enough. Yes, there were ugly stretches, but like you can point to several moments in the game where it was like, man, I'm glad he's on the court. What about, was it the end of the first half, end of the third quarter, where Tatum had the ball and found an open Queta under the... there were moments where Queta was solid. Defensively, get fucked. That's a completely different story. He's not Rob Williams. He's not there swatting everything. He did have a number of blocks in this game, if I could check the box score very quickly.
2 blocks.
2 blocks? Okay, so nothing, too crazy.
Hey, that's a number of blocks.
But positionally, like there was one play where clearly the directive was Hauser to funnel the ball handler at the top of the key into the middle of the paint because Neemi should have been in there waiting to defend the rim, and Neemi had just like floated out to the perimeter and just left a wide open lane for Hauser's man to get to the bucket. And it was like just a very clear and obvious defensive miscommunication. And there were probably 10 other examples of that throughout the game. So defensively, not to be relied upon, but your two-way big, your 4-string big, you need to be able to rely on them when half of your big man lineup are out with injuries, and you need them to step up for a game. And that's what we were able to do today. So it's hard for me to fault the guy. What do you think?
Yeah, okay. This is probably a good encapsulation of how we felt about Queta today.
Oops, in the playoffs. Am I allowed to say that?
Tatum rebound. There we go.
Say here. I'll try to be
get to
pretty
P.
reserved.
Get to P. You're never going to make this.
Yes!
Oh, Queta!
Watch it be late, dude.
Right? Imagine his one bucket of the season.
Oh, reliable. Neemias Queta.
Never in doubt.
Yeah, that's right. Never in doubt. So good.
We're happy for Queta. We want him to be good. We want him to be good. We want him to do well. He really saved himself late in the game. Like the first couple of quarters were tough, and I will agree with this. I do think that Queta is a dog. I think he just has misplaced dog energy currently, which technically could be said the same as Rob, but Rob. Yeah, Queta is really just like the undrafted two-way version of Rob. Like Rob was a first-round pick that without the medicals would have gone like in the lottery. That's the type of feel that he had, the athleticism, the passing ability, that kind of stuff. But Queta's like can kind of pass a little bit, very big athleticism, can block some shots. Mm-hmm. He did have that awesome block in the third quarter. I pulled it up. It was 96-94. Siakam had kind of drawn a couple. He dumped it off to Jalen Smith, and Queta got up there for the block, which looked like it could have been a goal attempt.
Apex block.
And on the replay, like when I first saw it live, I thought it was maybe a goaltender, but looking at the replay, I was like, I actually think they got that one right for once. Look, I'm not saying that Queta is Rob. I'm just saying that Queta is the two-way version of like a lottery-type talent without the injury stuff. So want to really make that clear that Queta is not Rob at all, any world, ever. But like,
just in case you were wondering if we thought that.
Because I really need to make that clear. Like that's
fair.
how highly I think of Rob and kind of where I am with Queta. But look, man, he stuck with it. If I was Joe, I would not have brought him back in the second half, and I would have gone to either O'Shea or Lamar at the 5. I think I might need to do this because it worked earlier in the season. When Luke Cornett was really struggling in those first few games, I put out a plea to the gods. I sacrificed a lamb, and I said, "Can Luke Cornett please grab more than one rebound? More than one rebound. That's all we ask, because all Queta needs to do to be like actually good is to become like a good rebounder." Mm-hmm. And he has the athleticism and he has the size to do it. It's just right now his timing is just not quite there, which probably has to do a lot with reps. Like to be fair, he hasn't had enough reps. But Luke Cornett, it worked for you when I begged for you to grab more than one rebound, and Queta tonight somehow only grabbed one rebound. I'm putting it out there. I'll sacrifice the lamb later tonight. More than one rebound the next time he plays more than 10 minutes.
Necessary sacrifice. I suppose like Jaylen Brown, actually pretty decent, 9 for 15.
Solid.
25 points, hit most of his free throws, just a solid game. 0 turnovers again, right? And it's becoming unremarkable. Like, this is why we've just only started to talk about him now. An unremarkable, efficient 25-point game with a bunch of free throws and no turnovers. But, one thing he did really well in this game was get mismatches in the post and just like go to work. And he had a number of really successful post-up opportunities, spinning one way, going towards the basket and finishing through contact. Bunch of fadeaways as well. Couple where it seemed like he hung for a long period of time, making sure they drew the contact before throwing the ball in. He was incredible. And yet, like I said, it's unremarkable because we're just getting used to it, in what is clearly standing out as his best season ever, by far.
By far. I mean, yeah, he's
I think so.
Good.
What's the lack of turnovers in the passing? Like, it's night and day.
I'm just like, he was still really like so good last year, but like he has been really freaking good this year. I'm like trying to pull up his post up numbers because you talk about the low turnovers, and I think that aspect of his game is like really important because getting into the post, and that's not just, he gets in the post, you get these small defenders on him. He's able to see the floor easier. Guys, he's not trying to dribble past guys into help. Like, it's way more difficult to get your hands into a guy that's posting up. And so, like, it's having a really, really positive impact on the entire team, but in particular, Tatum and Jaylen. Like, in the fourth quarter of the game, Celtics up 113-106. Jaylen gets Nembhard on him, backs him down. He's just going straight through these small defenders. And, like, when you get to the playoffs, it's just what you need. And for him to have developed this skill, like, it just... I'm not even sure he had it or didn't have it because we didn't really use it last season. But one way or another, he is a legit post player now and is able to... And when you got Tatum, Jaylen, and KP on the court in crunch time at the same time, you're going to be able to find a mismatch somewhere. And if all three of those guys are elite in that spot, and like you're playing to the strengths and weaknesses of Tatum and Jaylen, where turnovers can be a problem in those spots, and you turn them you use them in the post instead, and all of a sudden turnovers down, efficiency's up, crunch time numbers are better, and like Jaylen in those spots, he's got the bulk, he's got the athleticism to rise over these guys. Like, is there anything you feel more confident in right now than like Jaylen Brown posting up, even someone the same size of him, and you're like 12 to 15 feet or even closer? It's like, yep, I feel great. I feel safe. I feel safe and comfortable.
That's how you want to feel.
Yeah,
dude. Maybe only feel safer and more comfortable when it's Tatum, but it's close. Yeah. I thought this was an interesting Kristaps Porzingis game in that the way that the Pacers attacked him was more backing him down and posting him up, and his effectiveness as a rim protector was a lot less effective in that capacity, it seemed. He's much more effective playing in drop, and he's got really good timing and positioning as far as where to position himself against the screen in that drop coverage. Playing Miles Turner, posting him up, it's kind of a different story. He was getting pushed under the basket a lot. He did look a little flimsy. He said after the game that his ankle isn't 100% yet, which is obviously a factor. And, so that's defensively. Offensively, yeah, again, maybe a little bit hobbled, but it's a great example of how just him being out there, the 7'3" Latvian bear slayer, just out on the court, setting picks and then popping, and just the spacing that adds, even if he's not as part of the screening action, just him on the wing or even in the corner. He got one corner attempt from 3 in this game as well. The spacing that affords the rest of the team is of such value that he can be hobbled and can essentially do far less than what we would like offensively. And it's such a contributor to the overall holistic offense. So I thought it was an interesting reminder of how little he can do physically or how little he needs to do, and yet how much that contributes to the overall offense.
Yeah, I thought like this was one of his worst games of the year, but because of and he's been so good this year. He's just been like out of this world, consistent, efficient, defense, offense, you name it. He's been able to give it to us. Mm-hmm. And yeah, how much of it was rust, how much of it was the ankle, how much of it is just like the whole team is tired. Like they've looked tired for 2 weeks now. Yeah. And like,
well, no wonder. So many games and so few nights.
Dude, it's just absurd. And so, yeah, man, like that's the value of KP. He had that monster dunk in the fourth quarter as well. Like, yeah, I thought he struggled, I think, kind of across the board. And, yeah, he was looking a little light in the ass tonight. And I
You
think
hate
that's
to see
just
it.
and I think that's just to be expected. And that's absolutely the way that you attack Porzingis is you got to get into his body, because if you're able to let him play and drop and not like push him off his spots, then he's just too big and too long, and he's able to impact so many shots at the rim. Like he still had 2 blocks, or 1 block, sorry. And like his version of the worst game of the season could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, look, we could talk about the game and the team all night. We should get to the Schadenfreude report because we're running out of time. But just very quickly, Sam Hauser's shot is back, and we'll leave it there. And now, Jake, let's get to let's find the right button here, the Schadenfreude report.
Schadenfreude.
The Sixers.
Schadenfreude.
The Lakers.
Schadenfreude.
The Heat.
Schadenfreude.
Milwaukee Bucks.
Schadenfreude.
Warriors.
Schadenfreude.
We're going to have to take the Heat out of that opening title, right? 7 in a row they've lost now, Jake. They're starting to, the fan base is in shambles. Heat Reddit is like my second favorite website right now, just for the Schadenfreude. I guess that's a good place to start, other than the Sixers have just lost as well. So the Celtics have made up 2 games on them in 2 nights, which is incredible. And as much as we don't like to see anyone injured, including Joel Embiid, things are looking interesting there.
Yes, again, make this clear. We're not celebrating injuries. That's definitely not what this is about. But the sadness of our enemies is going to be something that keeps me alive for the rest of my life. The Heat, man. This Terry Rozier trade, obviously early days, 3-7 in the last 10, 7 straight losses. Like that's bad. And like yesterday, the Suns coming off a back-to-back in a game where they really need to win, man. Like, they're down into the 7 seed, tied. It looks an awful lot like they're going to be in a similar position to last year, where they're going to end up in the play-in, which I know scares some people a little bit.
Yeah.
Me too.
Included.
Me too, maybe a little bit, but I don't know, man. I'm starting to feel like the magic may have run out, and I'm trying not to be a prisoner of the moment. But man, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they end up out of the play-in. It's really too bad that the Bulls, Hawks, or Nets or Raptors aren't more competent. Like, why are the Raptors 13 games below 500? They're not that bad. Why are the Nets or the Hawks? The Hawks is the big one. Why are you 7 games below 500? There should be absolutely.
Because they maxed Trae Young, and he's terrible defensively.
That's all right with your logic. I guess that makes sense. Eric Weiss.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah, an awful lot.
Hard-hitting analysis. It's very accurate, though.
So this is good. The more they lose, the better. There's obviously going to be a little bit of concern. Like, you don't want the Heat in the first round, but I think with Porzingis and the evolution of the Jays and this team, and the Heat team just not being quite the same. They don't. I'm trying not to get sucked in, because like they kind of did this last year, but their own like fans and some of the reporters and media people that I trust are like, this is not the same. And also they relied on like outlier, like out of this universe may as well be a different reality level of outlier shooting to get through both the Bucks and the Celtics. Not to mention Giannis missing 2 or 3 of those games as well. So like, unless Terry Rozier is able to turn into, and this is my thing with the Heat, like there might be some chatter about the Heat are better on paper than they were last year, which is why you've got to take them seriously, because the talent of Rozier is better or whatever. Unless that Heat team can shoot 44% from 3 and Caleb Martin can average, or Terry Rozier can average 20 points per game on 60, 50, 90, then it doesn't actually technically matter who is playing, because the level that team played at in that, really it was that 3-game stretch. It wasn't even a 7-game series. It was the first 3 games of the series where they just went absolutely nuclear for 3 games. Caleb Martin all the way through the series. But it's like, I don't care who you add. Can that person be a 20-point per game scorer for 7 games on 60, 50, 90? Otherwise, I don't really care if you add Chris Middleton. I don't care if you add Jaylen Brown. It's like, the way that Caleb Martin played in that series was like a legit All-NBA level shot maker. So it's like, unless you can do that, then it doesn't matter who's on your fucking team. So the Devil Magic, that's all they got.
Has it run dry? That's the declaration here, that it's run dry. The Heat suck balls and it's over. I hope that's the truth. I really need that to be the truth. But I'm not
willing to go there yet.
I know. I can't quite commit to that thought process as much as I would like it to be true. But they do suck right now, and they have sucked for the last 7 games. And hopefully they'll suck for the next 7 games as well. They play the Kings tomorrow. Correct. Which does not bode well. The Kings are a decent team. Yeah. Followed by the Wizards. If they lose that game, then we know we're onto something. And then the Clippers.
I did look at their broader schedule over the next little bit, and like it's not easy. So they're definitely going to find out like where things are going. But you know, the Sixers, they lose tonight. They're now into the 4th seed, half a game behind the Knicks, half a game ahead of the Cavs in the 5th seed. This is like, so before I was like, do I actually want the Sixers to start winning because I want them to be in that 2-3 hole? And I don't really want to see them in the second round. I'd rather see like the Cavs or the Knicks or whatever. But if we can push them into that 4-5 zone, then like they're going to have a really tough first round matchup. Like the Cavs have been really good lately. I think they figure some things out with Mobley and Allen, and then who knows, dude? They could actually lose that series. Whereas last season they play the Nets. Like the Nets had a good record because they had Kyrie and KD for the first half of the season, and they made those trades, and then like the record was just good enough for them to hang on till the end. And you saw it in that first round where like praying that Denver Shitwitty can come through in the clutch for us to steal a game or two, and it's just not happening. But this year it's like, or it's the Pacers. It's like, can the Pacers climb into the like the 4-5 slot, which is like a disaster matchup for the Sixers because they cannot run and gun. It's like Embiid's going to get out of that series. That actually might be my number one choice. Would be a Sixers Pacers series if they're going to end up in that 4-5 spot.
Yeah, no, that's a really good take. And the Sixers, they've just been bumped down to 4th now, I think, after that loss to the Warriors moments ago. So, and you've got the Cavs there in 5th and the Pacers in 6th. So things looking good in that sense. May they suffer the worst of losses, excluding injuries, of course. I suppose sticking with Schadenfreude as we look to wrap up here so we don't run for too long, the Lakers have lost a string of games. They've got the national media questioning their own worth. Like, should we really be talking about the Lakers? Zach Lowe was talking about it. Yeah, and they're finally starting to ask the right questions of themselves, which is finally great to see. Well overdue. But the Lakers, I don't have their recent stretch up in front of me, but suffice to say, they've sucked balls as well. And we play them in a couple of days' time, and we'll get to our upcoming schedule after this, but that's the beginning of a nice stretch of schedule for the Celtics. The Lakers coming up, Jake. I guess first comment on how terrible they've been so far, and then how do you feel about that matchup in a couple of days' time?
Man, they have been very bad lately. 5-5 in their last 10, but they've now slipped to below 500. And like Anthony Davis and LeBron have played almost all of the season, and for them to be that bad with that would be just, that's DEFCON 1 if you're the Lakers. I gotta say though, for that matchup on Friday, I know that LeBron can still bring it for a night, and so I'm gonna be on my toes. I know that on any given night the Lakers can still do it. I know they had that awesome matchup against the Warriors on Rivals Week, but part of that is that the Warriors are also terrible. And so that's part of it. But this is the NBA. LeBron and AD, like LeBron can still turn into a top 5 player on any given night. AD's been pretty excellent lately. So I've been absolutely enjoying the destruction of the Lakers. If you're not in the playback stream, we usually get like 1 or 2 Lakers trolls in the stream per game. We had one guy in there today because like they were getting smoked by the Hawks, just trying to get Tatum traded to the Lakers. It's just great. You know, they're in a dark place, and so
you love to see it.
I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, you know, like if you don't want to see the Lakers in the first round, I get just because like in one round or one game they can kind of still step up, but national TV, Lakers Celtics, the chance to really make the Lakers have an existential crisis, that has me salivating.
Oh, yes. It's going to be a fun
the idea of
playback.
that. Yeah. And yeah, on that, myself, you, and Spoonie, the first of the floor legends, will be on the playback stream for the Lakers game. And so
the link
be there.
is down there in the description, as well as the link to our Discord. You should click and join our Discord server as well. And there's 74 people here. Please, while you're all here, pick up your mouse, your trackpad, whatever it is, your phone, like the stream. It helps. The more likes there are, the more eyeballs this show gets in front of, and the more potential we have to get, certain types of guests on. Brian Scalabrine, for example, doesn't get out of bed for less than 20,000 subscribers. We're almost at 3. So you put the show in front of more people, there's more subscribers. Suddenly, we're getting like ex-players and stuff like that on the show. Hopefully. So please like the stream, and we'll live through the snowball effect of that. The upcoming schedule, Jake, obviously the Lakers we talked about. Then Marcus Smart rolls into town, not playing, which might be the way I like it. Like, we don't have to see him on the court, but we get to see him in TD Garden. We get to see the tribute videos and all the hugs and everything. Then there's the Hawks, the Wizards, the Heat, the Nets, and the Bulls. So we've got a nice stretch of games here of sub 500 teams. Do you think our guys, can maintain the right mindset for this stretch of quote-unquote easy games?
I'm not super confident. I got to be honest. Like, the last 2 weeks, they have not been playing at a super high level or playing to their potential, which is absolutely understandable considering the schedule and where we are. But if they only really need to play like at 85-90% for the next 2 weeks or whatever it is before the All-Star break, and we're going to get out of this thing on pace to win 63-64 games and have a 5-game lead going into the All-Star break on the 1 seed. It's like, just maintain the focus. I know they're going to get up for the Lakers game. I know they're going to get up for the Heat game. The good thing is that the Hawks, Wizards, and Grizzlies. The Grizzlies is like that's the trap game to me.
The emotions.
Well, just like the Grizzlies play really hard, and even without Bane, Marcus, they're able to like really defend at a high level at times. Vince Williams Jr. has been awesome. They're just like Gigi Jackson. They've got like one of the most underrated organizations in the NBA has been the Grizzlies over the past like 5+ years, or and longer, going back to the grit and grind era between drafting, culture. So that's the one I got to keep my eye on. But like, get out of this Lakers game. But I'm not worried about them getting up for that one, just because it's Lakers, Celtics, it's LeBron, it's national TV. I know like Tatum always gets up for that stuff, so that's gonna happen. But yeah, like Jaylen looks hurt to you. Like he probably looks tired, dude. Like he's missed a couple of dunks lately just by like a centimeter or an inch or two, and like that's absolutely probably to do with this ridiculous part of the schedule.
Yeah, and he's very likely going to be named an All-Star reserve in a couple of days' time. But, it's obviously not the same load on one's body as, a continued stretch of basketball. So just get to the All-Star break, get out there to Indy or wherever the game's at, Indiana. Yeah, play some pickup at the airport and then get yourself to the All-Star game. Look, I suppose we should leave it there. I feel very energized by the C's these last few days, Jake, since the Clippers game, essentially. So I feel like I could keep talking about them forever. Speaking of energized, our guy, Jordan Walsh, had this to say with his buddy in the game today for the Maine Celtics.
They didn't get the same level of production that they're used to. Slammed down by Walsh.
Teched up. So he's a Celtic. Teched up for hanging on the rim.
Whoa. Oh, he got a tech for the rim. I was like, what did you get the tech for?
So count the bucket, but he gets teed up. Amazing. Do you want to watch it again? Let's watch it again.
Yes.
They didn't get the same level of production that they're used to. Slammed down by
Walsh. Send that ref to jail. Send him straight to jail on that type of play. But, dude, that guy's I need more. And I said this on the playback today, but it's like, how when it's a big blowout or a potential blowout, we're like, we want to wrap this thing up and get Walshy minutes as soon as possible. We're getting closer to that part of the season. If we can get to the last 10 or 15 games with a 5-game lead on the standings, I guarantee we're going to get more Walshy. Actually, I can't even guarantee it. I don't even know what's going on. I don't know why we're not seeing more Walshy. But
Not a guarantee.
Not a guarantee. We're giving ourselves the best possible chance to get more Walsh if we like wrap the 1 seed off with like wrap the 1 seed off. That sounds. Anyway,
I'll wrap the 1 seed off, given the opportunity. I don't know what it means, but sure.
Tie him off there. If we can wrap that thing up with 15 games left, we're just going to get more Walsh probably. And so every game is important, not only for building good habits and getting the 1 seed, but because we want Jordan Walsh.
Please, aka the best part of the season, the Jordan Walsh stretch to end the season. All right, another Celtics late night show in the bag. Shout out to everyone in the chat. We love you guys. Thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, etc. Thanks for joining us. These are always so much fun. Jake, love your work, mate. We're back at 5 p.m. tomorrow with Jay King from The Athletic in the Still Potable podcast. Can't wait for that one. See you then.